Our Violet Ends, Chapter 26. Juliet practically slammed into the two Scarlets guarding the door to the burlesque club, narrowly halting before a collision. Kathleen was close behind, her breath coming fast. "Let me through." "Miss Kai," the Scarlets exchanged a glance. "We can't. Step aside, now." One of them shifted out of her way, drawing a glare from the other, but that small gap was enough for Juliet. She squeezed past and pushed through the door, barging into the dark interior of the club, the smell of smoke bringing an immediate sting to her eyes. And inside, all she could hear was screaming. For a moment, Juliet was frozen in shock, uncertain what she was witnessing. The club had been cleared out, the tables and bar emptied of patrons and workers. The only people present were her father's men, seated around him and at the ready while he lunged at one of the largest tables, arms splayed across the velvet of a half-moon couch. He was facing forward, facing the stage where Rosalind was being whipped. The lash came down again on her back, and Rosalind cried out, her whole body shuddering. They didn't allow her to crumple to the floor. There were 4 Scarlets around her, 2 to hold her upright, 1 with the whip, and 1 standing just to the side. "Oh my God," Kathleen whispered. "Oh my—" Juliet charged for the stage. "Stop it," she demanded. She was upon the platform in 3 fast steps. When the Scarlet standing guard tried to stop her from lunging at Rosalind's direction, Juliet was faster, pushing at the arms that tried to grab her. The guard tried again, and Juliet immediately struck her fist across his face. He stumbled away, finally letting Juliet throw herself before Rosalind, her whole body a shield for the next lashing. "Xiao Wang, stand down." At Lord Kai's call, the Scarlet who held the whip frowned. Droplets of blood were splattered across the front of his shirt, but he seemed not to notice. He didn't stand down, his arms pulled back, half prepared to strike again, as if he would release the whip. "Go ahead," Juliet said, her words curled into a sneer. "Whip me, and see how many pieces I'll cut you into afterward." "Xiao Lang," that was Lord Kai again, his voice rising over Rosalind's whimpers. "Stand down." The Scarlet listened. He lowered the whip, and Juliet spun around, hands outstretched for Rosalind. As soon as the Scarlets released their hold on her, she collapsed, and Juliet scrambled to catch her cousin, softening her fall onto the stage. By then Kathleen had reached them too, cursing and cursing under her breath. The burlesque club was silent, waiting. "Rosalind," Juliet said. "Rosalind, can you walk?" Rosalind mumbled something beneath her breath. Juliet couldn't hear what Rosalind was saying, but by Kathleen's stricken expression, she had understood immediately. "Deserved what?" Kathleen asked, her voice a mere rasp. "Why would you say that?" It was only then that the mumble registered to Juliet. "I deserve it. I deserve it." "Because she does." Juliet's head snapped up, seeking her father. He had spoken in such plain declaration without room for dispute nor debate. "Baba," she whispered, horrified. "You know Rosalind. You know who she is." "Indeed," Lord Kai replied. "And so she should have known better. She should have had more loyalty. But instead she had been feeding Scarlet information out." Juliet felt her throat grow tight. When she shifted her hold on her cousin, her palm came back entirely slick with blood, the mangled gashes on Rosalind's kipao weeping bright and red from her wounds. Juliet was torn between the same indignation that had dragged her father out here to make an example out of Rosalind and utter outrage that this was Rosalind. No matter what she did, where was her chance to explain herself? "Is this about her lover?" Kathleen asked quietly. Her voice shook. "He is a mere merchant. She said he would soon leave the White Flowers." "He is no mere merchant," Lord Kai replied. With disconcerting speed, he leaned off the couch, grabbing a stack of papers upon the table. In his hand, he flipped through them, then selected one to pass to a Scarlet beside him, indicating in Juliet's direction. "He is no merchant at all. According to the letters we found, he is a White Flower through and through, and he has been siphoning our clientele list through Lang Shaolin for months." "What?" The Scarlet presented the single piece of paper. Juliet scanned the Russian script briefly, reading a report about the members of the Inner Circle. This was the one among hundreds. One day logged out of months. Who? Juliet demanded. Who were these letters being sent to? Well, Lord Kai gestured toward Xiao Wang, toward the whip that trailed blood across the stage. That's what I wanted to know, too. By now it seemed that Rosalind was close to losing consciousness, her body growing still. Juliet tapped her face, but her cousin's eyes had fallen shut, thick lashes fluttering up and down each time Juliet urged for a response. Come on, Rosalind, Juliet hissed. Stay awake. Lord Kai arose from his seat suddenly, and panic surged through Juliet's every cell in response. She had never responded like this before when it came to her father, whom she had always seen as fair, even when he was the one holding the whip. Nothing had changed. Her father was and always has been the leader of a ruthless gang, the head of a criminal empire. He had never hesitated to give punishment where punishment was deserved, and Juliet had never blinked until now. Now, when punishment was still fair, but fair brought the blood of one of her best friends. We are done here, I suppose, Lord Kai said. If you want to interfere, Juliet, why, you can help by getting the name out of your cousin. She protects him even now, and it will not stand. He waved at the man around him. Help her home. Call a doctor. Kathleen made a noise of protest as they leaned over to grab Rosalind, but Juliet relinquished her hold. The time for punishment had passed, and the Scarlets weren't fond of unnecessary cruelty. They were careful, avoiding Rosalind's injuries. This whole event wasn't about hurting her, it was about making a point. Juliet, Kathleen whispered when the Scarlets started to clear out of the club. Did Rosalind lie to us? Yes, Juliet replied, certain. She squeezed her hands, and the blood crusted into the lines of her palms. Rosalind had lied, had betrayed the Scarlets for whatever reason, and Lord Kai had not hesitated to make her answer for it. Juliet looked at the blood-red stains on the stage. The men were moving the tables into their original formation, glasses clinking together, voices yelling at one another to summon the car out front. She could feel her father's eyes on her, calm and inspection, digesting her every reaction. She needed to keep her expression composed. No particular horror at the violence. No undue sympathy for a traitor. But all she could think was, if Rosalind was whipped like this for leaking Scarlet information and protecting an ordinary white flower, then what was Juliet's fate if they were ever to find out about her past with Roma Montagov? Benedict wouldn't have run the message himself if it weren't for such a late hour, but the clock was nearing midnight, and he doubted any of the White Flowers were sober enough in the main headquarters to be summoned to a task. This was urgent. Though these few months he suspected just about everything in the city was. I cannot concentrate with you hovering over me like this. Benedict heard Lauren's booming voice before he saw him, pushing through the lab doors and scanning across the few technicians working overtime. Eventually he sighted Lawrence and his cousin near the side tables, both of them squinting at something under a microscope. Or technically, Lawrence was the one with his face pressed to the eyepiece. Roma was looming over him and invading the scientist's personal space. Is that the vaccine? Benedict asked. Stolen right from the Scarlets, Roma answered, having recognized Benedict's voice without bothering to look up as he approached. But Lawrence is saying he doesn't think he can recreate it. I cannot read any of these papers, Lawrence shot back. Moreover, this sample is not pure. It has been manipulated for additional solubility or flammability. One or the other, I'm sure. Well, Benedict interrupted, it just became a lot more valuable. The Scarlets had their entire supply stolen. By monsters. Roma finally looked up, taking a step away from the microscope. What? I was there only a mere hour ago. I know. Benedict nudged a thumb toward the door, indicating the rest of the city outside. That's why there are rumors that you orchestrated it. White Flower credibility went up. Scarlet security went down. There will be blood feud fights on the streets tonight, I'm sure. Me? Roma muttered under his breath. That's rich. I wish I did. Lawrence, meanwhile, made a thoughtful noise, his eyes still pressed to the microscope. I really would recommend finding the source of this rather than counting on our recreation of this vaccine, Roma. Roma didn't say anything in response. He was good at internalizing. If Benedict took a listening device to his cousin's head, he was sure he could hear an utter scramble of panic. But on the exterior, Roma simply folded his arms. Just try your best. Even if I can find the blackmailer, who is to say if I could find the rest of the damn monsters? Lawrence pushed the microscope away wearily. I'm not paid enough for this. He reached for the drawers along with the work table, retrieving a scalpel. Speaking of which, there was someone who came poking around in the evening, seeking you. Benedict pulled a face, though Roma was too busy with his own surprise to notice. To the lab? Roma asked. Here? I do not know how he found his way over either. He was called General Shu. Why did that name sound familiar? Benedict combed through his memory, but came up empty. Roma, on the other hand, immediately reared back. He's a top nationalist official. What does he want with me? Lawrence merely heaved a sigh, like the topic was wearing him out. I suspect he circulated all the places you are known to frequent. He left as soon as I said you were not present. Are you in trouble? Benedict asked. With the Kuomintang? Roma replied, scoffing. No more than the usual level they want me dead. He stepped away from the work table, leaving Lawrence to his task. Shall we go? Benedict nodded. He was still mulling over Lawrence's strange report when Roma opened the doors for him, the smack of cold wind forcing him alert. You look better today, Roma remarked, staring at the direction of headquarters. Are you getting more sleep? Yes, Benedict replied plainly. And mere hours ago I found out that Marshall is still alive. He wanted to say that out loud. He wanted to scream it from the rooftop and declare to the whole world, so that the world could end its mourning with him. But now Benedict had been roped into Marshall's promise to Juliet. Benedict was another piece in a larger chess game, one with Juliet on one side and Roma on the other, and to keep Marshall from falling off the board, it seemed that he had to start playing for Juliet's strategy. Good, Roma replied. A slight crinkle appeared in his brow. Perhaps confusion, perhaps relief. His cousin heard the lift in his voice, and couldn't quite pinpoint a cause, but he was not direct enough to ask outright. A street lamp flickered above them. Benedict rubbed at his own arm, ceasing his chill. When they turned a corner, deep enough in the White Flower territory that he felt assured they wouldn't be attacked any time soon, he said, You do not seem concerned by the news I brought you. I expected some exclamation when told the monsters robbed the Scarlets of their vaccine. What's the point? Roma replied tiredly. The Scarlets never would have distributed to us. The concern isn't the Scarlet loss, it's the use of monsters for such a trivial task with no attack on the people. Roma blew out a breath, fogging the air around him. I am almost convinced at this point they'll never go away, he muttered. They will keep coming, and Juliet will keep appearing before me, dropping to her knees to ask for help just one last time, right before she puts a blade in my back. Benedict remained silent, not knowing what to say. The lack of argument must have seemed suspicious to Roma, because he threw a quick glance over, mouth opening again. But Roma didn't begin his next sentence. Instead, so quickly that it scared the living daylights out of Benedict, Roma pulled his gun and shot into the night over Benedict's shoulder, his bullet already echoing before Benedict had whirled around and caught sight of movement disappearing from the mouth of the alley. Who was that? Benedict demanded. He glanced around, taking inventory of their surroundings. The shop signs written in Cyrillic and the Russian bakeries all lined up in a row, though they had retired for the night. This was about as far into White Flower territory as one could go. A Scarlet? Roma frowned, drawing closer to the alley. His targets had long disappeared. Possibly struck, possibly only grazed, given the distance at which Roma had shot from. No, he replied. A nationalist, uniformed. I thought I heard someone behind us, but I chalked it up to my imagination until they came closer. We were followed almost immediately upon leaving the lab. Benedict blinked. First an official appearing at the lab. Now they were picking up on a trail on the streets, right into their own territory. It was bold. Far too bold. "What did you do?" he demanded. Roma didn't answer. He had sighted something on the alley door, a wad of loose-leaf paper. It looked like an old advertisement, but Roma picked it up anyway and unfolded it. His eyebrows shot straight up. "Forget what I did." Roma turned the slip of paper around, and a sketch of Benedict's face stared right back at him. "What do the Kuomintang want by trailing after you?" Benedict took the paper. A cold sweat broke out along his spine. His neutral expression was colored in careful ink. The illustration better than his own self-portraits. The artist had been generous with his crop of curly hair. There was no doubt that it was him. "I haven't a clue," Benedict muttered. But his concern wasn't why the Kuomintang were following him. If they had been on his trail for some time now, the more important question was, how much of they had seen from earlier in the day, when he was exiting the safe house and saying goodbye to Marshall, who was supposed to be dead?